Well, I'd ridden the Australian professional road title, okay, in Port Arlington in Victoria. And Mike Dyer had broken away on the finishing circuit. And I'm not sure, I think it was 10 laps of the finishing circuit. You go out, God knows where, come back. And it was 10 laps of the finishing circuit at Port Arlington, which was about a 3-mile block, I think. And anyhow, he'd broken away probably with 20 miles to go, 30 kilometres to go. And I was riding as anchorman to make sure, to disrupt the chase, basically. Mm-hmm. So I'd sit on wheels, chase down guys, and just sit on them when I caught them, and did nothing. Yeah. And it was really making them going pretty dark on me. But then Mike Dyer went and fell off. He went into a corner too fast and crashed. Yeah. So that was the end of my efforts to help him to win. But the organisers of the race were so impressed with the way I was riding and how I was handling it, they invited me to ride the Sun Tour.
Okay, yeah.
So I thought, yep, okay. So our season finished here long before the Sun Tour, a month before the Sun Tour. So my wife was taking me out training behind the motorbike. I was doing 100 miles twice a week behind a motorbike around the Chittering Valley and whatever, so keeping up the training. 2 weeks before the Sun Tour, I got a message from Stan Fennell, or Stan Fennell is pronounced. Yeah. You know Stan Fennell? I don't know. He was the secretary for the League of Wheelman here. He got a letter back from the organisers saying they didn't think I was up to the rigours of the Sun Tour, and sorry, but we've had to reject my entry. Mm-hmm. And I thought, Christ, I've been training my guts out here, so what do I do? And I thought, I know what, I'll have a dash at the Perth-Sydney record, just out of spite. I thought, I'll give it a go. Yeah. And anyhow, I tried to get sponsors, and no one wanted a bar of it at first because you're wasting your time. It's on the shelf, but Peter Robinson's wife knew a guy in the trotting association, the WA Trotting Association, who was a trainer, and he was also involved with the committee. And and she approached him and said, "Look, any chance of the Trotting Association sponsoring a rider?" And they could see a bit of a peg to hang it on, I race against a trotter at Gloucester Park. I ride with a cycling jersey with WA Pacing Cup on, Benson and Hedges. Well, Benson and Hedges, it's like the cigarette company. Yeah, okay. And when I get to Sydney, I then race a trotter at Harold Park, as sponsorship for the West Australian. And okay, so they put up some money. I can't remember what it was. It wasn't a great deal. It was probably about $1,000. So it wasn't a great deal for what was needed.
Was it enough to cover your expenses, do you think?
Not at all. Nowhere near. Yeah. Nowhere near. But it was a start. And then Rod Slater from Eurocars. You know Rod Slater?
No.
Peugeot Eurocars. Rod Slater was already importing Peugeot bikes into WA, the fold-up bikes and the racing bikes and all that sort of thing. And in fact, he was supplying fold-up bikes to the cricket team, the Australian cricket team, so they could ride to the WAHCC on Peugeot fold-up bikes.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So he had his eye to a bit of promotion, and he heard about it, and he wanted a piece of it. He said, "Look, I'll give you a bike, and I'll cover the expenses of whatever." So Warren Rudd was working for him at the time. So he'd obviously approached Warren Rudd and said, "Look, is he capable of it?" And Warren Rudd said, "Well, he's not going to give up," kind of thing. And anyhow, Rudd decided to take it on. And he put up, I don't know how much money. Ken Norris was also involved. Ken Norris. He found other sponsors. Once I got it going, lots of people wanted to be involved once they saw it was a goer. And we got Adidas, a local butcher. We got all sorts of people. The great signboard on top of this bus, And Anyhow, so I now had the financial backing to do it, and the team was Peter Robinson, Ken Norris, Stan Hastings, who was he was the timekeeper. He was the official timekeeper. Spike Perrich was the referee.
Yeah.
Spike Perrich, he was the referee, and my wife, she was dog's body, did everything.
Yeah.
Okay, so there was. What,
and they're all following you?
Yeah, they were.
Yeah.
See, someone had to follow me the whole time. Someone had to be in view the whole time. So you couldn't just have a bus or a car.
Yeah.
You see, because someone had to stop for provisions, petrol, whatever.
Yeah.
So they had to. Yeah. So there had to be someone, and every border, I had to have an official observer from that state come out to the border to meet me.
Oh, okay.
To, the
logistics, I suppose. Or not
the hurdles they put in front of us to try and make it difficult, and that was the League of Wheelman. You know, they made it seriously difficult. But we got a guy, I can't remember the guy from South Australia that came out, and then we had a guy from Victoria came out.
Was it just like an off-the-shelf Peugeot that they had? That was roughly your size?
No, I had to have a very small frame because I ride very low. So it was a 51 centimetre frame. See the lugs there? How tight it was.
51 square? It looks...
No, the top tube was too long. Top tube was long. I've only got a very tiny... I've got a very short head stem there. Yeah. Very short head stem. But they're
pretty upright geometry as well.
It is. It was jarring. It was too steep.
It looks too steep for across Australia, right?
But I would have thought I couldn't tell Peugeot that when they interviewed me when I got there. What was the bike like? Well, the bike was brilliant, mate.
Now I know from previous conversation that you. This is a fantastic picture that I'm looking at. I'm looking at a large picture with Bruce on the Peugeot. Is it Strong-Light Crane?
Strong-Light. It's all French equipment.
You seem to remember quite well, just in case someone wants to build a little tribute bike. What sort of equipment were you running on there? So
there was Strong-Light 170mm cranks, 54-45 chain rings, a nylon rear gear, a nylon simplex rear gear. The front changer I've still got, believe it or not, but it's broken. There were
6?
5.
5? Yeah.
Maillard hubs, French hubs, Maillard hubs. I can't remember what the rims were.
Centerpool brakes?
Yeah, Mafac centerpools.
Yeah.
It was basically all French equipment.
Yeah.
Campac pedals I had because they were my pedals off the other bike.
So I see you wearing shoes there and not thongs. We'll come back to the thongs maybe.
Now, that's a bit down the track. The thongs.
Okay, great. So tell me a little bit about the ride. So so you've been training. The timing, I'm interested to know about the timing. So you did it in 8 days, 11 hours.
11 days.
11 days, 6 hours.
No, 11 days, 29 minutes. 11 days, 6 hours was Vic Brown's. That's the record I beat.
Oh, right. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Okay. How do they time that? Is it just time on the bike?
No, the clock starts as soon as you leave.
Right. Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So, so it's actual... the riding time, I'm not sure how much the riding time was, but as ever.
So, so my apologies, I thought it was 11 days, 6 hours, but even 11 days, 6 hours, just roughly, I worked out the distance was about 4,500 kilometres.
Yeah. And
it averaged, on average, about 380 kilometres per day. Is that tally with what you remember?
Well, in actual fact, it was... You can't really break it down that way because on the Nullarbor, on the dirt, I only did 90 miles one day because it was impossible to ride.
Right.
As you may be aware, you've been across it, the corrugations were savage.
Just again for listeners, at that stage, the Nullarbor was still unsealed and notorious for corrugations.
Yeah. Anyhow, they were doing no maintenance on that road because they were building a new road by the coast. So there was no resources being put to maintain that particular dirt road, limestone road, whatever you like to call it.
Yeah.
And the the corrugations were so savage that it was sometimes impossible to ride on it, and I was riding into spinifex and scrub off the road because it was easier to ride in and out the bushes rather than ride on the road. But when I got to Ivy Tanks, it was sand on limestone, and it took me 3 hours. 3 hours to do 8 miles at one stage because I had to walk some of it. Yeah, so it was just impossible, that was the worst part of the whole trip across the Nullarbor, because the front wheel kept on dropping in the sand when I could ride, and I go straight over the handlebars. And Stan Hastings, who was the timekeeper, and he noted in his notebook that I came off 15 times straight over the handlebars, not going very fast, probably only doing 10-12 kilometres an hour, but as soon as the front wheel dug in, straight over.
Because you must be thinking to yourself every time you've hit one of these patches that you think, there goes the record, there goes the record. Where were your spirits there? They would have sunken through the floor, wouldn't they?
At Nullarbor Station, I was so shagged, and that was still on the dirt, and I still had dirt to come. Yeah. I was so shagged that, in fact, we pulled the pin about 10 miles, about 20 kilometres from Nullarbor Station. We hung a ribbon on a bush. They'd said, get in the bus, and they drove to Nullarbor Station. And the following morning, I couldn't get up. I was so shagged, I couldn't get up, and I felt so ill that I just had to lay there. And by about midday, I started to feel okay. And I said, okay, I think I can go, because the lads were already saying, well, look, we'll give it up, we'll turn back. I said, well, no, I think I can go on. So they drove me back to where the ribbon they tied on the bush, put me back on the bike, and I carried on. Yeah. So lost a lot of time there, lost probably about 12 hours there.
Oh, no.
Yeah, so...
because what did you break the record by? I believe it was only by 6 hours or something.
6 hours. It would have been more, because when I got to the outskirts of Sydney, Sid Freshwater, who was the League of Wheelman secretary for New South Wales, he came out to meet me, and he called the police department and said, look, we've got a rider here, it's coming. And the police said, look, he can't possibly come in now, it's rush hour. He can't possibly ride in, it's just too dangerous, and we couldn't help him. If you can just wait at that motel, and we'll give you the shout when you can come in. So I lost 2 hours there, it would have been inside 11 hours, so I had to wait 2 hours. But then when I got the okay, I had 2 police outriders riding alongside me, 2 police motorbikes, stopping traffic all the way into Sydney.
Oh, okay, that would have made up for it.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't make up for it, because I was only 30, 40 kilometres out, so I couldn't possibly make up for it. No. But as ever, I got a free ride in. Yeah. But the problem is, when I got to St Martin's Place, where the post office, where the finish was, the bus wasn't in sight. So they couldn't give me a time until the bus saw me. So even though it's listed as 11 hours 29 minutes, it was probably quite a bit faster than that. Yeah, but they couldn't give me a time because they couldn't see me.
Yeah.
So there's a few factors there that.
Wow.
Yeah, but and funnily enough, I only punctured once apparently.
Well, that was going to be my next question. I mean, what were you riding singles across the way? Yeah. And what were they, like 23Cs or something like that, or?
I don't know. I didn't look at them. I just rode.
Yeah.
We had heaps of singles in the bus, but I didn't. Peter Robinson was looking after the bike. I just sat on it, so I didn't have to do nothing. It just jumped on it and off I went again.
Wow! Yeah. I bet you didn't want to look at a bike for a while after that.
No, they made me ride back. They made me ride back every day. They made me ride about 40, 50 k's every day. So I rode behind the bus every day, 40, 50 kilometres behind the bus until we got to the Nullarbor. They said, no, you can't. You got to keep. You can't just stop. Which is correct, of course. Yeah. But when we got to Sydney, we were put up at a motel, all of us, and Peugeot paid for all that. All that. So we was there for several days because I had television interviews and all sorts.
That was my next question.
Yeah. So I can't remember how many days I was there, but while we were there, it occurred to me that this is costing a fortune. Can we? and I had to go to Peugeot. And did an interview with them at their head office, and I didn't ask what it was costing them.
Yeah.
And I let it slide, because I thought, well, it's probably not a pertinent question to ask.
Yeah.
But when I got back to Perth, I found out that Rod Slater had funded it out of his own pocket.
Oh, really?
He'd funded it out of his car business own pocket, on the basis that Peugeot would refund him if I broke the record, because Peugeot didn't think I'd do it either.
Oh, right. Yeah.
So Rod Slater was funding it all, and of course, when I broke the record, he got reimbursed.
Yeah.
But I didn't know that.
Yeah,
I didn't know. I thought Peugeot were
right.
paying for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gosh.
Yeah. So
That's
there.
undertaking.
And I still keep in touch with Rod.
Do you want to have a break?
No, all right. I'm right. Unless you want a break.
No. Great. Oh,
Yeah.
that's good. That's good. Right. Oh, where do you go after that?
After that, I don't know. But
when you got back to Perth, was there a little bit of fanfare for you?
not really. I mean, the local paper, like the Daily News, come out and took a photograph, and that was about it. So there was no great fanfare.
Yeah.
And Stan Fennell put on a bit of a reception for me at the Peugeot shop, which it was nothing really. It was just an afternoon tea sort of thing.
And
So-
I believe that they didn't give you the bike they didn't want the bike to hang on a wall, and you didn't keep the bike either.
No,
What-
I didn't.
What happened to it?
I don't know. I really don't know what happened to that bike, because
Did
it didn't.
you hold on to it and you got rid
Yeah,
of it?
I did.
Okay.
I had the bike.
Okay.
I had two bikes, but one went back into stock because I never used it.
Oh,
I
okay.
used the same bike the whole way. And
You had to?
They supplied two, but I only rode on one. So the bike that I didn't use went back into the Peugeot stock.
Yeah.
But I kept the one I rode.
Okay.
And I really don't know. I think I remember what I did to it. I had the top tube shortened because it was 23-inch top tube, and I ride a 21-inch top tube.
Right.
Because that stem I rode was only a 2-inch stem.
Yep.
The one on the
Yep.
bike,
Yep.
I had only a 2-inch stem,
Yep.
and it was too steep. So I changed the angles as well. I changed the angles slightly, and that's one top tube. It was virtually unrideable after I changed it.
Yeah.
It just it didn't steer properly or anything.
Yeah.
And so I don't know what. I think I just flogged it.
Okay.
I can't remember what I did with it, but I didn't keep it. I shouldn't have done anything with it, of course.
Never mind. You wouldn't be the first.
No. It didn't occur to me the significance of it.
Yeah, that's right.
So I went back to riding my Speedlike, sprayed it white and put Peugeot stickers on it.
Thank you very much, Bruce. Very much appreciated.